Hey everyone, Anthro OG here, and today we're going to go over means and modes, capitalism and the quarterly profit model, right? And the reason we're going to go over this is because they don't really match up. And so I'm going to start the day by kind of going over what capitalism is and then how it doesn't really match up with the quarterly profit model. And to understand capitalism, which is basically just where there's private ownership over the means of production. And I'm going to get into the means of production now, right? And where labor is actually paid by wages unless you are the owner of the means and modes of production, unless you own your own business, right? So we'll get into that. I'll kind of show you some graphics of what that means and how that works out. And then later on, we'll get into how it doesn't really go well with a quarterly profit model or the expectation of continuously earning more profits every quarter. All right, you ready? So first of all, what is capital? Capital is basically just money that you can invest in things in order to make more money, right? Well, it doesn't always have to be money, but in our society, it is money or currency, if you will, right? And so let me give you an example here, right? Let's say you want to own or you want to start a shop that makes T-shirts, a business that makes T-shirts, and you have these $2 worth of capital. Right, and you buy all of the things you need in order to make this business. You get the business name and the sewing machines and the threads and all that kind of stuff, and you make these shirts. And you sell these shirts for $10, right? So therefore your labor is worth $8, right? So you have the two, you sold it for 10, and then all the stuff that you did, that's $8 worth, right? And so the stuff that you bought for the $2, those are the means of production, right? That's the sewing machine, the business name, all that kind of stuff. The mode of production is the labor, and then the profit is what you sold it for minus labor, etc. Right? And so means of production is what it takes in order to make profit, in order to make a product. For a farmer, the means of production are, the land that they work on, the seeds, the shovels and rakes and the agricultural business, tools and machinery, that type of stuff, right? For a construction worker, the means of production would be, the business name, the van, the tools, this type of situation, right? And a restaurant worker, the means of production would be the actual restaurant or the recipes or the food itself. Now, the mode of production is the labor. And you get a bigger or lesser say on what your labor is worth by how much of the means of production you own. For example, let's use the construction worker again, right? If you own your own business, you own your own tools, you own your own van, right, and you're a construction worker, you get to say how much you'll do a job for. So sure, I'll tile this floor for X amount because it's yours, right? You own the means of production. You own your own means of production. And so you say, I will build this house for X amount and because I have my own license and everything, right? So if you don't have your own business, but you own the tools, you get a little bit more of a say in how much you'll do the work for, right? So like you don't have total negotiation power, generally speaking, because it's not your business, but they are your tools. It is your van. So you get to negotiate a little bit more because you own some of the means of production. But if you don't own your own tools, you don't own your own van, and you don't own your own business, you have very little say in how much your labor is worth, how much your modes of production are worth. So let's use the context of a restaurant, right? In a restaurant, if you own your own restaurant and you made the menu and you have the money, the capital to invest in the kitchen and the pots and the pans and the tables and all that kind of stuff, you can dictate how much your labor's worth. I'm going to sell this steak for this amount and I cooked it and I served it and they gave me this amount of tips. If you don't own those things, then you have very little negotiating power on how much your labor is actually worth, right? If it's not your business, or if it's not your kitchen, or if it's not your name on the menu, etc. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, if you're consistently looking for more profits, which is what the quarterly profit model does, right? We break our fiscal year into 4 quarters, right? I think it's every 3 months, and Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And each quarter, you're supposed to be looking for more money. And so you have those $2 that you invested in the t-shirt business, right? The means of production. And you sold the t-shirts for $10. These two numbers pretty much stay the same, right? There's fluctuation, but generally speaking, there's not that much fluctuation unless there's like huge crashes, global crashes on commodities and things of that nature. So where are you supposed to get the money? Where are you supposed to continuously make more money? Well, in that instance, you have to find cheaper labor, right? And so to use our example again, when you have the $2 that you invested in the t-shirt company and you sold your t-shirts for $10, so you made $8, maybe you can pay somebody $6 and then you make $2 profit and you didn't have to do anything but put the initial $2 up. What if you could pay somebody $4? And then you make $4 off somebody else's labor. So essentially you own their mode of production. You own their labor because you own the means of production. You own the stuff to make the t-shirts for, right? What if you could find somebody to do that work for $2? Now you're dictating what their work is worth. And you're making profit off of not doing actual work yourself. You're making profit because you had capital to invest in the means of production. Essentially, that's capitalism. And we've seen this ever-growing need for cheaper labor, and the idea of globalization, I mean, it really starts kicking off in the 80s with Reagan and moving the auto industry out, right? And you see this happen with Walmart and these other large box stores where they're continuously trying to pay people less and less and less and manufacture things for less and less and less so they can continue this quarterly profit model. But at what point does it end? Therefore, corporations are really encouraged to continuously look for new and cheaper sources of labor. And unless there's some type of regulation on the least amount that somebody can get paid to live a dignified life, either a global standard or, a local standard, or there's some type of, national identity and or loyalty or something like this, corporations are therefore encouraged by law even to continuously look for this cheaper labor. And I, for one, argue that this doesn't equate up, this doesn't match up. Because if you're continuously looking for more and more money every quarter, and the main way to do that is to find cheaper and cheaper labor, at what point are people not slaves? At what point are people not working for almost nothing? And at what point are the profits just going to dry up? Like, this is an exponentially growing thing, again, of a finite amount of resources, and that just doesn't equal out. So that's my 2 cents on the topic. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks so much.